This is the wrap-up for the live market open for Friday, the end of the month, January 29th. We had lots and lots of action. We'll do the wrap-up for today and then preview for next week's events. Let's begin from what we had early in the morning. Boom, the Bank of Japan went negative deposit rates in Japan, excessive rates, minus 0.1 on excessive money parked with the Bank of Japan in 3 tiers. It was a very, very, very close call. 5 members, including Governor Kuroda, voted for the move, 4 voted against the move. Very tight decision. And they also maintained their QE program and pushed back inflation expectations. The Japanese yen certainly reacted. This wasn't fully priced in. Some had expected more QE. Some kind of action was in the cards, but not this strong. Very significant move from dollar yen, moved all the way to 121.40. I see resistance at 121.50. Support, I would say only 120. Currently stable in range 120.75. Japan basically joins the currency wars against China, against the US, against Europe, against everybody. A weaker yen. They also can afford a weaker yen because of oil prices, which are low despite the recent move higher. Okay, what did we have yesterday? German inflation came out as expected, but today's Spanish inflation missed. Okay, this is important for what we have later today. UK GDP came out as expected, 0.5. After this long list of bad news from the UK, the no news, as expected news was positive for the UK. In the United States, we had a terrible release. The durables goods orders, a drop of over 5% in headline, over 1% in core. It hurt the US dollar. It lowered expectations for the GDP figure that we have today. And this morning, we had German retail sales disappoint. Let's look at a few more charts before the events of today. Euro dollar had a nice move on weak US data and what we had yesterday in oil prices, all the way here to 109.65, and then we're back to the previous range. All eyes are on the GDP, on the Eurozone inflation figures. We have at 10 GMT, we have a small warm-up with the monetary data, but what's important is the Eurozone inflation data. We're expecting a small rise because of the removal of base effects to 0.4. Also watch out for core inflation, okay? Before we talk about US GDP, in the wrap, I didn't talk about what we had yesterday with oil. We had rumors of a grand cooperation, global cooperation to cut production, lift prices. We had a rally of nearly 10%, almost to 34, 80, 30, almost to 35. So we had this short squeeze, as Dale mentioned, but since then we had things stabilize, fall back down. Iran is not in, Russia is not certain, things like that. So we have a renewed rise in oil prices, but it's it's looked like the short squeeze. Dollar CAD had a very exciting day yesterday, fell below 140 and then managed to recover dollar CAD, but I would say we have support here at 139.50, resistance 140.50 and 141.70. Today we also have Canadian GDP, which is expected to be okay, which is expected to show a rise of 0.3 in November. Okay. What else do we have today on the agenda? Main event, main dish for today, US GDP. After the weak durables goods orders, we're expecting very low levels. Some expect a negative number. We cannot rule anything out. I think the Fed hinted that we have slow growth on maybe almost nothing, but positive and not negative. 0.8 is expected. If we have a negative number, this could still talks about recession. 2 consecutive quarters of contraction is a recession. Probably very weak growth. Important to watch also the components. If it's built on inventories, growth is built on inventories and then it's negative, or if we have negative inventories and then there is some kind of silver lining. We also have good trade balance, employment cost index, and a few other peripheral figures of the GDP, but the headline GDP is the most important one. And last but not least, consumer sentiment. No big changes are expected, but it's worth watching because it's the last event of the week. Let's look at a few more charts. Pound dollar, better mood in markets, currently a bit higher, struggling with 143.65 resistance at 144.80, support 142.40. Okay, nothing important from the UK today. Euro, the range, wide range, 107.80 to 110. Let's see how things develop with the euro. We talked about CAD, we talked about yen. Yeah, 121.15, 120 is the range. Aussie dollar moving higher. We had better figures from Australia and no bad news from China this week. Currently it's 17.96, 71.50 is resistance, support at 70.50 more or less. New Zealand dollar recovering from the after being hit by the dovish RBNZ. Currently it's 65, resistance 65.80, support 64.20, the post RBNZ level. Okay, so we're currently seeing stability in euro dollar, but hopefully this will not remain like this. So that's the wrap up for today. We'll